let's turn to the next Enrico Letta episode.
Can tell you that once again, the method of my exercise, and by the way, I have to thank Jacques Delors for that, because in my last meeting with him, September last year, before he passed away, when I was telling him about this mandate, and I was telling him that the mandate to me was also because of him, he told me, s'il te plaît, ne t'enferme pas dans un bureau au Berlaymont pour écrire le rapport. And I think that was fantastic. And the second point that he asked me to do is, and traveling around Europe, do not limit yourself to visit the capitals, because in the capitals you will meet a lot of officials, ambassadors. They will tell you a story, but the true story, you will get it if you meet people in the provinces. This is what I did in my trip around Europe. And I can tell you that my big surprise is the fact that when I try to present the need for the integration because of what happened at world level in the last 20 years, 30 years, my usual examples are very concrete examples. China and India together were 35 years ago, when the single market was created, as big as France, as big as Italy. And today they are 10 times France, 10 times Italy. And in big audiences with students, with citizens, I always use the example that is very shocking, that when the single market was created, Italy won more gold medals at the Olympics game than China. That is very strong in terms to say what happened in the last 30 years. A world revolution, and I use the term revolution that Marc correctly uses. And so the key point is the fact that this awareness is not shared by on the ground, and is not shared also on the top. Can tell you that my big surprise was having hearings in parliaments and the committees of the national parliaments, and having questions or reactions to my report that are really very national based reactions, saying that, but it's the solution is at national level. But in reality, the solution is at national level is if we eliminate the national obstacles to integrate and to be able to compete at global level as superpower. Otherwise, our weaknesses will be the coffin of the European people for the future.
We've got about 5 minutes left. I'm going to ask the panelists to address, to pick and choose which ones they want to address. And I want to say so. I want their answers against the following context. Maybe I'm wrong, but I have a feeling at the moment that the European Union, the mood in Brussels, is business as usual. But I look out of the window and I see that the winds of change are not just blowing globally, they are howling. So my question overall for the panelists is, can we possibly move fast enough in trying to do what needs to be done? Marc, that's the question, was it? And then we'll go Bruno, David. That's it.
So in 1 minute, I don't agree with the complacency assumption. I think at least the European Commission has a very, very full and very ambitious list of strategic priorities it wants to tackle. And a lot of preparation work has actually been done, which is, compared to the previous years, is not the case, where it was really reaction to. Now it's more proactive and strategic. So I of course, the national politics and so on, we've touched upon that. Can we find ways to actually say, well, if we don't do it by 27, we might do something with 5 or 6 here? Yes, because it's already happening. If you look at what is Poland doing with the Baltics, saying we are going to do an Iron Dome. We are going to develop that technology together, and we're going to protect the frontier. Nobody in Brussels is going to say no. If they say with the Scandinavians, we are going to protect all the critical infrastructure around the Baltic, Brussels is going to say, thank you very much. And this is going to accelerate. I mentioned the $500 billion fund. I mentioned there was France, and I think Macron might surprise us because he has nothing to lose. And in the Fifth Republic, he has everything to say about foreign relations, and he can even do that on its own when it's for defense. They have already said in France, we want investment vehicles just to be presented so the willing countries can participate. And there is investment capital enough. What Europe must do, and whether it does that through Europe 27 or differently, is provide investment opportunities and legal certainty and the ability to get approval, and then to have a business model on it that creates a long-term possibility for businesses. That is probably the challenge. Can you do that with a few countries rather than others? Yes. We're in Belgium. Belgium does that with the Netherlands in terms of ports. We have very, very close collaboration. We've even merged ports cross-border. There's a lot of talk happening cross-border between Antwerp and Rotterdam at the moment. They are doing that also for the energy infrastructure, for the post-carbon economy. And they are talking to the people in the Ruhr, and they are talking to the people in northern France. So yes, this is possible if it can be enabled. Can the Commission do that on its own? Yes, because it has already pools of money that it could redirect. It has innovation funds, it has projects of common European interest, it has revenue that it can raise through tariffs and all kinds of stuff, and it could decide to focus that on fewer projects and create that kind of carrot for the countries that want to jump at certain priorities. So I think political creativity and outside pressure and the awareness that we need to act are going to take us to a certain level. Is it the ideal level? No. Is it the level we could reach if we were the United States with a lot of budgets, etc.? Probably not. But is the United States an example of good governance? No. Which individual country is an example of good governance? We could be pessimistic about all democracies in the world. So positive ambition and do it.
Thank you, Marc. But let's go to Bruno. And could I add a bit of spice? Do you see the Capital Markets Union during the course of the next Commission?
I think no. I do think we'll see more funding at European level and more European borrowing, because it just makes sense, because it's cheaper and it's probably politically easier to get going. And I know that the Commission wants that, and I think we should have it. That's a step towards a capital markets union, because you will be addressing the European market and the European savings that are available. So I think that is a step, and nothing is going to go in one big bang, especially not something like that. I want to go to the question: is because it's not popular or not top of mind, do we not say it? I'm very happy to say that we would need, building on what David said, it would be helpful if we had, for example, an election for someone like Ursula von der Leyen on a pan-European scale. The experiment with the Spitzenkandidaten is nonsense. It hasn't worked. It will never work, because you don't have one political space and it stays the responsibility of the governments. Yes, eventually, and I'll be very happy to defend it, let's have an election for a European president, because that's one of the differences with the UK. Like I am a big defender, even in public, even in my own country, for European Commission, especially if we enlarge even more, that stops having one commissioner per country, which is also complete nonsense, actually, because you get a bunch of irrelevant commissioners that are just there to say that your country has one. I have no problem with saying that, but that's not what interests people. I do think that we can make something happen on electricity grids, But what is the problem and why isn't it happening? Because, of course, right now, every country has its own electricity market with very different characteristics. France is, for the last couple of years, actively blocking interconnections because it is a way to subsidize their own industry through cheap electricity with a nationalized energy company, with EDF, that takes on all the debt to finance cheap electricity. You cannot do that if you have an interconnected market where the price is set for everyone, French companies, German companies, Belgian companies, at the same time and at the same level. But it is inevitable that we get there. But it needs a lot of regulatory changes. You need national grid operators that become really connected. Maybe you need one European grid operator and investor to really make that happen. That debate is going on, but we're not there yet. But I think it's one of those things that might see progress because it is not so hard to do, and it is beneficial in many different ways. But can you have that through a public vote? No, it's not gonna happen.
David, last word to you. And could I just add one very small sub-question? Do you think it would make any difference to streamlining the European Union's decision-making if Europe ministers were based in Brussels rather than in the capitals?
The short answer is no, I don't think so, to be quite honest with you. I mean, I think these are ideas which may appeal to us in this bubble. I don't think it would have the slightest effect on the overall outcome. I mean, look, I think my conclusion is that we need some kind of initiative that is à la hauteur of the challenges, but it can't be everything. When I read Marc's book, it's a fabulous book because it sets it all out, but you kind of think, we cannot do all, we will not succeed. So you need some triage, you need some identity of a couple of sub-objectives which are attainable. I think the energy piece is hugely important because energy is key to our lack of competitiveness at the moment. I think the financial markets, the capital markets is key because it is the reason why we are unable to grow our own tech and innovative industries. I mean, and you need an agreement at the level of the European Council, and I don't disagree with the former member of the Parliament who said, the Council is part of the problem, but it's still, we need it. We need the kind of deal that you got for 1992 between Mitterrand and Kohl and even Margaret Thatcher. And I just hope that the leadership emerges at the level of member states that can identify the couple of projects that we need. Defense is obviously another one. Now, can some of these things be done in a coalition of the willing? Yes. But some of them need to be at 27. Otherwise, they won't work. And it's making that distinction between what can legitimately be done by 5, 10, 15 countries working together with the support of the institutions, but not needing everyone. Defense is possibly an example of that. But the energy grid, in my view, ideally you need all 27. Financial markets, ideally you would do that at 27. So making that distinction between what we can let happen in smaller groups of coalitions of the willing versus what we absolutely need to do at the European level is, in my view, crucial. And then the broader debate about the future decision-making of the European Union. My compatriots are responsible for the fact that we still have one commissioner per member state. I agree entirely. I was opposed at the time. I defended the reduction of the Commission. It has made the Commission less collegial and less effective. Ursula von der Leyen has greatly overcome that by a centralization of the power, but it's a shame that we have lost some of the degree of collegiality, and that is directly because we have too many commissioners chasing not enough meaningful political work. But there are other issues that need looking at. The Parliament needs looking at. The European Council definitely needs looking at, transforming it more into a Senate perhaps. But I mean, these are institutional changes, in my view, that should follow the development of public opinion and not precede it. Otherwise, it won't work.